Your Lilith sign shows the part of you that got shamed, rejected, or punished, but she's also your secret superpower in your chart. She is the piece of you that you were taught to apologize for. The version of you that felt too much, too loud, too emotional, too intuitive, too real. And yet deep down, you've always known there's something sacred about this part of you. Lilith is not the version that you created to survive. She is the version of you that was already born whole, but then this part of you was told that you had to prove yourself, that you had to earn your place. But the thing about Lilith is she was never looking for approval. She's always been looking for truth. When I first found that mine was in Cancer, I wasn't sure what that meant, but I felt something stir. There was this version of myself, like a shadow, like an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years. Traditionally, Cancer is water. Cancer holds memory, but Lilith in Cancer, she is the abandoned mother, the exiled empath, the woman who gave everything, but then when she asked for the same in return, she was told she was too much. I knew this girl. I knew this piece of me. She was the one who stayed silent to keep the peace. The version of me who broke down in her room because no one taught her how to hold space for her own grief. The adult part of me who confused being needed with being loved. Lilith was the part of me that cried at the wrong times, in meetings, at dinners, watching commercials, the times where we're taught to stay silent, to stay put together. And for years, I saw this as a weakness. I was so confused. My Lilith is right next to my Venus. When I'm in a loving relationship, when I love someone deeply, that part of me is activated even stronger. And we're going to talk about how to find Lilith in your chart later in this video. It can even be a best friend that I love. My ability to cry, to nurture, to desire to feel needed is amplified by this Lilith. Not only having that Cancer Venus, but also having my Lilith there, it is strong, let me tell you. And I didn't understand this. I didn't understand why I felt so strong when I was doing my day-to-day, when I was working. But when I was in a relationship with someone I loved, it's so easy for me to cry at what feels like the wrong times. I saw this as a weakness, as something to suppress, to hide, to manage, but Lilith didn't want to be managed. She wanted to be met. She wanted to be held the way that I hold everyone else, fiercely, unconditionally, and without shame. If there is a part of you that you feel like you can't fully explain, some sense of suppressed rage, some sense of feeling disconnected from your femininity, no matter how you identify, keep watching because we are going to get into it. This Lilith placement told me how and why I built walls and called it strength, how I had doled out my intuition and called it logic, how I tiptoed around the truth and called this kindness. And slowly I began to realize, much like you will as well, this wild, watery, emotional depth that I held, it wasn't a flaw, it was a compass. That is what Lilith does for us. She gives you the map to your own exile, and then she invites you to come home. But let's back up, okay? Who is Lilith really? If we look at the mythology, Lilith was the first woman created equal to Adam in a biblical sense, but she refused to be beneath Adam. Then she decided to assert her body, her power, and her will, but when she did, she was outcast. She wasn't submissive. Lilith wasn't agreeable. She was the opposite of what patriarchy wanted her to be. So they made her into a monster, positioning her as the demon, as a warning sign. They used her as this figure to convey this message of be good, obey, or you'll end up like her. And yet, here we are, centuries later, still trying to figure out what parts of us are safe to show. Still asking ourselves questions like, is it okay to want more? Am I allowed to be this loud? Am I allowed to be this soft, this sensitive, this bold? What if I stopped shrinking? What would happen? Well, Lilith is the answer to all of those questions. She is the part of you that never needed permission, only the space to exist. In astrology, Lilith tells us where we've been told to dim ourselves, where our power got tangled up in guilt, where your instincts were shamed, your voice was silenced, your intuition denied, but it's also where your magic lives and how you can tap into it. In this video, I want to take you through a journey. There are going to be multiple chapters of this video, and I'm going to have them in the description as well so you can follow along. We're not just going to talk about the myth of Lilith or the placement, but we're also going to talk about how you can hear her, how you can embrace her, and how you can implement her in your life and get in touch with that part of yourself. yourself. I want to show you how to hear her, how to hold her, and how to stop apologizing for being whole. We are going to explore what Lilith looks like in every single zodiac sign. We will talk about the patterns, the rebellion, the rage, the retreat, and we'll also talk about how it shows up in friendships, in your ambition, but most of all, we're going to talk about how she shows up in you. Because the truth is, you were never too much, you're just ahead of your time. After this video, you are going to remember who you are before they told you what you're meant to be. So if you're ready to meet the version of yourself they tried to shame out of you, beneath all the coping, all the people pleasing, the masks we put on, then stay with me. Let's begin. So before she was a point in your chart, her name first appeared in ancient Mesopotamian texts, depicted as this wind spirit, this night demon, like a mysterious force that couldn't be pinned down. Even then, she had no interest in being contained into a single definition. Her story derives from Jewish folklore, and it kind of goes like this. So in the beginning, before Eve, there was Lilith, not made from a rib, not born second. She was made from the same earth as Adam, equal in form, equal in spirit. But then Adam demanded dominance. When he wanted her beneath him in every single sense, she said, no, I'm not doing that. And with that one word, she unraveled the entire system, as you could imagine. She chose exile over obedience, and in doing so, she became a threat to the order of things, banished from Eden and written out of the storyline. And then she was replaced, as we know, with someone more manageable. And isn't that what happens to us too? The parts of us that speak too loudly, feel a bit too deeply, who desire a little too much, get replaced with something quieter, more digestible. We are told to be agreeable, to be polite, so we shrink. And if we refuse to do this, we become labeled aggressive, difficult, hysterical, too much, not enough. Do any of these labels sound familiar to you? Lilith is not just a myth. She is a memory, this encoded pattern that lives within all of us. Every time you shrank your truth to keep the peace, watered yourself down so you could receive love, traded your intuition for logic because someone told you you were being dramatic, that was Lilith. Because here's the truth, you guys didn't lose your power, you forgot where you put it. And Lilith is gonna show you where that power is so you can tap back into it. This is what makes her story very relevant, because we're all living in a time right now where reclaiming our power is not just personal, it is for the collective. We are being asked to stop performing and start remembering, to stop apologizing for our depth, our rage, and our desire. And please, if you have any stories that are coming to mind, share them in the comments. I would love to hear them. In many versions of the myth, Lilith leaves Eden, yes, but she doesn't crumble after she leaves, she transforms. She grows wings, she becomes nocturnal, she finds freedom in the wild, births her own children. She writes her own cosmology outside of the one that rejected her. And these can be seen as metaphors for art, for power, for agency. She didn't wait for approval, she literally became her own myth. This mythology becomes really powerful when we realize it's not just about her. It is about that part of you that knows what it feels like to hear the words, that can't be said. You're being too much. Be nice. Calm down. And that's why this matters. It's not just about astrology. This is really about how we relate to power, to our own voice, to the versions of ourselves that didn't feel safe to exist. You thought these patterns were personal, but they're happening on a collective level. These wounds that we're going through, they're shared, and healing them, understanding your power, reclaiming your relationship to your power, is not just going to help you, it's going to help people on a collective level. When you reclaim your Lilith after this video, you stop trying to be lovable through silence. You start becoming magnetic through your truth. You begin the process of unshaming yourself. And in a world that profits off of our self-doubt, that is the most radical thing you can do. If you have a lot of Aquarius energy in your chart and you're listening to this, please let me know in the comments as well. So now we understand the myth of Lilith and why this is so important. Let's understand it on an astrological level and then show you how to find it in your chart. So typically the full title for it is Black Moon Lilith in astrology. It's basically the lunar apogee, or the point furthest away from the Earth in the moon's orbit. It is not a planet, it's not a void, it's actually a shadow point and one of the darkest parts in your chart. And there's actually 3 Liliths commonly used in astrology. Number 1, there's the asteroid Lilith. That's the physical asteroid named after her. Number 2, this is the dark moon Lilith, and it's basically a controversial second satellite of Earth, and it's more metaphorical than it is astronomical. And number 3, the most widely used, the black moon Lilith. This is the one we're going going to focus on today. So if you're looking things up, you're probably going to get the Black Moon one, but just be aware that there are other types and references. Each Lilith tells a different part of the story: the maiden, the mother, the crone, or 3 stages of the shadow: the part that was wounded, the part that adapted, and the part that fights back. Please take notes during this video as well, just so you can really understand the concept, and then we can bring it into our daily life. Let's say your Lilith is in Aries. You could have been punished for being assertive. In Libra, you were shamed for not playing nice. If it's in Virgo, you were told that your standards made you a control freak, probably. Mine being in Cancer, so close to my Venus, I felt a lot of shame around being in my feminine energy, and I've had to heal this. And you might find that there's actually a manifestation block within your Lilith. And if you guys want to understand where is Lilith in your chart, the aspects and everything, the houses, this plays a huge role into it. You can just book a chart reading with me too, but this video is going to be a really good starter. Here's the twist. If you have Lilith in a placement like Aries or your first house, you could have this instant magnetism about you that people almost fear, which is why most of us suppress her at first. She's the part of you that shows up before you have time to edit yourself, not the version of you that was designed to be liked. When you say no to something everyone says yes to, when you leave the relationship that looks good on paper. Right now, we're at the point of the video where we're going to find Lilith in your chart, and then we're going to go through all of the signs, and then I'm going to give you tips to integrate and heal her. So finding her in your chart, what I recommend is go to Cafe Astrology, and you are going to put in your exact birth data. If you're new to the channel and you don't know this already, call up your mom, call up your caregiver, look at your birth certificate, find your exact birth time, because this matters so much. Go ahead and check that out. You're at Cafe Astrology, you put all your data in, then when you click generate, you're going to scroll down and there's going to be a table. Within the table, it'll show this little icon, and next to it will be the sign that your Lilith is in. And then you are going to skip to the chapter in this video that has your sign. After you watch the sign, you're going to skip towards the end of the video where I tell you how to integrate it and what your next steps are, and then you will be on your way to reclaiming your power and embodying your truth. Let's get into all of the signs, starting with Aries. Lilith and Aries. This is raw, fireborn power. If you have a Lilith in Aries, there is something magnetic about you. You have some appeal and charm that you can't really understand, especially if it's in your first house. So there's 2 ends you can be on. Either you try to bury this fire, or you tried to burn down everything on your path. This placement carries the memory of a child who was told they were too bold, they were too loud, they were too independent, too ambitious. So they were shut down, punished, dismissed. You might have grown up feeling like you had to be calm, you had to play nice. So you stopped trying to take up too much space. You learned how to hide your fire, or you let it rage uncontrollably, torching up bridges, lighting up rooms, just to prove that you could. There is often no middle ground with the Lilith in Aries. You're either on the extreme of burning or you're on the extreme of silencing yourself. There is a deep sensitivity under this fire, no matter what side you're on. A fear of being dominated, a fear of being rejected for wanting to lead, for wanting to move and express yourself. So when your freedom is threatened, when someone disrespects your autonomy, that rage that surfaces, it is volcanic and it is ancient. It is not just about that one moment. It is about every single moment before then that you were silenced. Your anger is really sacred. But when unhealed, it can tip into vengeance, into an obsession with being seen, with being the best, being worshipped. You may sexualize your identity, drawing others in with your magnetism, but then you could end up feeling like you're misunderstood or you were just being used. Lilith in Aries teaches you this. You are allowed to lead. You are allowed to want, to take up space without guilt. But your power is not in your dominance, it is your embodied presence that gives you power. When you stop trying to prove yourself and instead own yourself, your assertiveness becomes clarity, your fire becomes your fuel, and your rage becomes this compass that points you towards your truth, understanding this feels wrong, I feel rage. How can I go towards my truth? What is wrong here in this situation? Yes, you trigger people and people can project their shadows onto you. But that is because you represent what many people are afraid to be, unapologetically alive. And when you integrate this Lilith placement, you become a force not of destruction, but of initiation. You remind the world that freedom isn't earned, it is claimed. We can all claim our freedom. All right, guys, I love you so much. Go to the last chapter of this video so you can watch how to integrate this and learn more about using Lilith. And if you want to book a reading and go deeper into this placement, let me know. Lilith in Taurus. You guys crave one thing above all else: safety through sensation. This is the Lilith of taste, of touch, of body. She longs to feel good and she's not shy about it. But the world told you that this was dangerous. Maybe you were shamed for loving luxury, for indulging in pleasure, in sex, in food, in beauty, in makeup, in softness. You were told this desire is selfish, that comfort was a weakness. Maybe you wanted to go to Sephora with your first paycheck and buy a bunch of stuff and you were shamed for it when you brought it home. You were told, why did you spend your money on that? Or when you wore too much makeup, you experimented, people told you, why are you spending so much time on your appearance? Or you were eating food and baking and loving the experience of the aromas in the house and you were shamed. You were told that it smells like something's burning, this doesn't taste good, you're gonna get fat. Something that tore you away from the pleasures of life. You tried to suppress it until the hunger grew so loud you couldn't ignore it, like a growling stomach. With this placement, desire doesn't whisper, it roars. And when that desire is not understood, it can become distorted. You might attract people who only want you for what you have, your looks, your things, your sensuality, or you might use those very things, your resources, your body, your style, to control how people love you, to control how people value you, and to make them stay. There can be a bit of a possessiveness with this placement. There can be hoarding, overspending, obsession with status, appearance, a deep fear of not having enough or not being enough. So you guys cling to what makes you feel full, but that fullness fades because what you guys crave is not really stuff, it is sovereignty. You are learning that pleasure isn't a sin, pleasure is sacred, that your body is not a bargaining chip, it is a temple, and that having enough doesn't mean losing your soul to get it. There is a wildness here, a primal pull towards life in all its richness. But to live in alignment, you have to ask, am I chasing this because I want it, or because I'm afraid without it, I am nothing? Lilith and Taurus wants you to know this. You were never meant to apologize for your appetite, but you are also never meant to sell your soul to satisfy it. When you own your worth, when you no longer need to prove yourself with luxury, you deserve stability and love. You stop being controlled by those desires and you start being guided by them. This is when you become magnetic, not because of what you own, how much you possess, but because of how deeply rooted you are in your value. This is why work around self-love, self-worth, valuing yourself, feeling like you are enough is so powerful for you guys. Please skip to the end of this video to learn more, and then if you guys want to go deeper, please book a reading with me too. We can dive into the aspects, how this shows up in your life, childhood, and everything like that. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Lilith in Gemini. This is the whisper in the hallway. The story that changes depending on who is listening. Like the information is being altered depending on what people want to hear. This is the power of the tongue. Sharp, seductive, and sometimes dangerous. With this placement, your voice is a weapon and it is your wound at the same time. Maybe as a kid you were told to be quiet, you were always asking questions at the dinner table and they said just eat your broccoli and go to bed soon. Or maybe you were praised for being clever and learned to use your words to get what you wanted. You know, getting out of trouble for cheating on the test, knowing people's weaknesses and their strengths and how to play to that. Either way, this placement can swing between silence and manipulation. You guys might lie without meaning to, or just to fill up the space. Like you want to tell a story and you start to embellish it with the details. This can also be the people to lie to receive love, to get their partner to like them, to be popular. You guys also, on the other side with the silence token, you may fear talking because you don't want to look foolish. You don't want to stutter. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to seem dumb. There is a gift here though, the ability to influence, to entertain, and to seduce with your language. But when Lilith isn't integrated in the right ways, that gift can cut both ways. You could try and gossip to feel in control of the narrative. You could start with chaos within your words just to watch things burn, to self-sabotage, to say things just to get a reaction out of people. Or you can attract people who lie to you, relationships where cheating, infidelity goes on, where people are doing things behind your back, betrayal, gossiping about you, just to reflect those shadows back. This Lilith holds a craving. You guys probably crave to feel understood, to be the smartest in the room. You probably never want to be caught off guard. You always want to know what to say, be witty, charming, bantering, quick. And that craving can become an obsession. You guys could consume information relentlessly, books, podcasts, movies, interviews, secrets, trying to believe that this information will keep you safe in your social world, in your professional world. But Lilith doesn't just want you to speak, She wants you to speak from your own truth, not to manipulate, not to please, but to reveal. You are learning that words really are spells. They can wound people or they can awaken people. You can use your words to confuse people or to connect with them. When you stop using your voice to escape and instead express, you become magnetic. Speaking from your wounds, your vulnerabilities, not trying to dance around it, because that is when people truly listen to you. Lilith in Gemini reminds you that your voice was never the problem. It was the truth you were trying to hide that is the problem. I love you so much. If you guys want to go deeper, please book a reading and we can look into the aspects, the houses, and everything, how this shows up in your life now. And don't forget to skip to the end of this video, the last chapter, so you can learn more about how to integrate this and reclaim your power. I love you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Lilith in Cancer. As I was saying, this is my placement. If you guys have this too, I really want to know. Let me know in the comments. Lilith in Cancer is an ache that you guys probably can't explain. There's this feeling of longing where you want to be held, but at the same time, you don't think that's ever going to happen. This placement really cuts deep because it's connected to the 4th house, into our childhood, into our memory, into the places we were most vulnerable and first wounded in love. It often means that something happened early on in your life to define you. A betrayal, a rupture from your parents, from your family, from those close to you. A moment where you realized, I can't trust the people who were supposed to protect me. Maybe you felt like the black sheep in the family. Maybe you got betrayed in your friend group. Maybe your parents didn't show up in the way you needed, or they were lying to you. You found out something was a lie. You felt like there was emotional manipulation at home. Or maybe you were the emotional one. You were very sensitive. You cried too much. You cared too much. You felt too much. And you were shamed for it. Instead of being nurtured at these times where you were most vulnerable, you were shamed. So you learned to carry everyone else's pain, to be the nurturer, and hoping that one day someone was going to carry yours. You became the caretaker, the emotional sponge, the mother to everyone but yourself. And this was me too. I have spent years trying to fix broken people, thinking if I could heal them, maybe I would be worthy of love. I had been leaning into my masculine energy to the point where it was restricting my flow in wealth and love and friends and connections. And the amount of betrayal that I have gone through is absolutely insane. I let people in too fast, or I didn't let them in at all. And most of you probably have trust issues at this point. Hopefully we are healing them. And maybe you guys can relate to this. I chased the feeling of home in other people and forgot to build a home within myself. This Lilith, though, is magnetic. People are drawn to your nurturance, your warmth, your depth, your ability to hold space. But some come to you guys just so they can be held by you. And when you're not aware of this dynamic, it can get dark. You might emotionally manipulate, or you can attract people who use your heart as a crutch, or who emotionally manipulate you, who take advantage of you. You might become the victim in your own story. There is also a tendency to hoard emotions, memories, people, to dwell in the past, because you feel empty in the present. But Lilith in Cancer is not about staying wounded, because this is a placement where you can develop a level of forgiveness that other people normally can't reach. And that is one of the biggest lessons here, is to forgive in a way that empowers you. It's about reclaiming your emotional sovereignty. I am not a mother to anyone who can't mother themselves. I am not here to bleed so others can breathe. I am not here to relive my childhood through every relationship. You are allowed to feel deeply without drowning. You are allowed to receive and not just give. And the reason that you're worthy of love is not because of how much you give. You are inherently worthy of it. The key here is to mother yourself truly, intentionally. This Lilith will soften. She doesn't disappear. She becomes a source of your wisdom. Your emotions are not a liability. They're not a weakness. They are your language. They are the way that you sense what is unseen. They are part of your intuition. If you guys have this, please let me know, and feel free to book a reading. I would love to read for you guys. We can go through the aspects, the houses, and everything like that. I'll have that linked in the description. And then don't forget to skip to the end of this video to learn more about integrating and reclaiming your power with Lilith. Moving on to Lilith in Leo. Lilith in Leo is a child who never got the standing ovation. The soul who wanted to be seen, not for what they could do, but who they are. But you guys probably felt invisible instead. There's often an early childhood wound around attention, not being picked first for the play, not getting the main role. Maybe you were the playful one, the performer, the light in the room, singing around the house. But when it came to singing at school, you were overshadowed. People didn't give you your chance. They didn't pass you the mic. Or you were told to tone it down, stop being so dramatic, stop being so loud. Maybe laughing in class, or trying to be the class clown and getting put down for it. Or feeling like no one was laughing at your jokes. Like, who do you think you are? So you dimmed yourself. You laughed softer, you stood behind others. Even though you were meant to lead, you did the opposite. Or you could do the opposite of this depending on where it shows up in your chart. So you leaned into the performance so hard, you forgot where the mask ended and where the real you began. Chasing attention like oxygen, craving validation even though when you got it, you felt empty still. This placement can swing between invisibility or narcissism. It can often be jealousy masked as charm. And it could be like the inner child acting out, not to harm, but to get attention, to be held. That is what you guys probably long for. And when this energy is unhealed, it can often play out in relationships. You might attract people just to feel adored, trying to perform or put on a mask and please them and get them to like you just so you can get their validation, using your charisma, which you have so much of, to pull people in. But then you get to the point where they almost need you. They depend on you. They need you to wear the mask. They need you to do the dishes. They need you to give them gifts every week. And then you can almost resent them for it. Sometimes this Lilith shows up as playfulness with a price. You give your warmth, your spark, your flirtation, but underneath there's this quiet desperation. Will they finally love the real me when I give them this? It can also be tension either with children or with your own inner child. You might love children, your own child within you fiercely, and still feel triggered by their freedom, their demands, because they mirror your unmet needs. You needed to have that space. You needed to feel seen. You needed to be able to creatively express yourself. But this placement is here to teach you something vital. You do not have to earn your worth by being liked. You are not only lovable when you're shining. You are lovable when you're still, when you're quiet, and when you're not performing for anyone. Being able to authentically show up as yourself, dance around the house, and do it for pure pleasure without needing an audience. It doesn't matter how the audience reacts. You validate yourself. You know that you have so much power, so much creative, beautiful energy within you, and you don't need anyone to tell you that. And when you do, your light becomes real, not just a spotlight that can be turned on to anyone around you. It becomes this fire that warms other people, this aura that is burning bright without burning out, because it's sustainable, because it's truly who you are. I love you guys so much. Please let me know your experience, your stories with this placement. And if you want to go deeper, you can also book a reading with me. I'll have that linked below. And don't forget, skip to the end of this video to learn a little bit more about how to embrace this power and use it in your daily life. Moving on to Lilith in Virgo. This is the wound of not feeling like you were enough. Not smart enough, not clean enough, not useful enough, just not enough. This placement can feel like living under a microscope, to be quite honest, where every flaw is magnified. Every mistake you made felt like a moral failure. You could have been the child who was the good girl, who earned their worth through performance, through productivity, through staying quiet, silent, nice, kind, polite, having to fit into this perfect mold of what people wanted you to be. And so you became the fixer. You learned to anticipate people's needs before they mentioned them, before they were spoken, to clean up the messes that weren't even yours, to earn your place by being indispensable. And you lost your self-worth in the process of all of this. Lilith and Virgo can create what I've seen as a dark obsession with control. Control of the body, this can manifest as eating disorders. Control of the environment, this can manifest as hypochondriac, high anxiety. Control of the narrative, nitpicking yourself or others into oblivion. And trust me, I'm a Virgo stellium. I understand this because the belief here is that protection is going to come from perfection. You can protect yourself from the pain if you perfect the things in your environment and you have control. When this shadow festers for too long, it can become transactional, giving order to receive, feeling like you have to clean, you have to do other people's work for them in order to feel worthy of love, to feel needed. You do things for people and you do it so well. You'll cook, you'll clean, you'll organize their life, not out of love, but to secure their loyalty. You know why you do this? It's because you want to make sure that they won't leave. You think that this is how people are going to stay with you, is if you do all of this stuff. In relationships, this can lead to martyrdom, like you doing everything and then resenting them for not appreciating it. You guys probably are so used to saying, I'm fine, when you're not. Keeping it together, on the surface, trying to be perfect, like nothing's bothering you. But secretly, you hope that they will see through it, and then they don't. They can't read what's in your mind, and that resentment can deepen. Virgo Lilith can also show up in the bedroom as someone who seems kind of reserved, almost innocent, but underneath, you guys have a knack for meticulously studying your partner, what they crave, what they desire, what they like, how to please, how to hook them. You can be seductive in the most subtlest, strategic ways because you're your service to the person is what puts them under a spell, what gets them hooked on you. You know exactly what to do. But here is the shift, guys. You do have this power, but you don't have to fix yourself to be loved. You don't have to fix people to feel loved. You don't have to overfunction to feel worthy. Lilith in Virgo asks you to dismantle the systems that you built inside your own body, the routines, the rules, the rigidity, and return to something softer where you allow yourself to rest. You are allowed to mess up, to be loved without earning it. The truth is, you were never broken. You never had to achieve this perfect mold because you were already perfect coming out as you were. You were just taught that your value is in what you can give, not in who you are. Your presence is quite literally a gift. You guys are so inherently worthy, you don't have to prove it. I love you guys so, so much. I would love to do a reading for you too. If you want to go deeper into the aspects, the houses, and your whole chart in general, please book a reading with me and skip to the end of this video to understand more about reclaiming your power with Lilith, healing this placement, and using it in your everyday life. We are going to move on to Lilith in Libra. This is the seduction of symmetry placement, the desire to be adored, balanced with this fear of being abandoned. This Lilith doesn't shout quite like the others would, like Lilith in Aries. She kind of whispers, she smiles, she charms. She can turn on the world with just a glance, just a wink. But deep down, she may wonder if anyone really sees her. You may have grown up believing that your value came from how good you got along with other people, how pretty you looked, how presentable you looked, how polite you were, how well you hosted, how smoothly you kept the peace if there was harmony in your relationships. And so you mastered this art of relating to other people and being there for them and keeping peace. You became the mirror, the muse, the peacemaker, but behind that polished exterior, there is this storm. And that is what we're connecting to. There can be a rage that you might feel of always being the one to hold things together. And please let me know if you're experiencing this too, or if you have stories of it in the comments. I would love to hear it. There can be a pattern of attracting toxic partners, people who manipulated you, cheated, lied, because somewhere deep down, there's a part of you that believes that is what you deserve, that there isn't something better out there for you, that you have to settle. You may be drawn to power, mysterious energy, seduction, to darkness, to people who treat love like a game. I think of this whole dynamic of the anxious and avoidant attachment styles and going back and forth and kind of flirting and playing hard to get. You guys might be attracted to that. You might want those people who treat love like a game so you can rewrite the story where you got hurt first. You guys could also be prone to manipulating people back, to creating conflict just so you can solve it. Because being the savior is how you guys feel secure in your place. You like that role. It feels comfortable. It feels like you have power. Lilith in Libra can wear beauty like armor, trying to dress up, trying to put on makeup, to look a certain way, to protect themselves. A perfectly constructed mask that hides the wound of fear and betrayal. But this isn't just about others betraying you, it's about you betraying yourself. Things you do just to keep someone close to you. And now you are being asked to stop betraying yourself for harmony, to stop shape-shifting to avoid being alone, not choosing aesthetics over your authenticity, because true balance isn't going to come from control. It comes from truth. And I know you guys want to experience a depth of true love, but you can't experience that until you stop abandoning yourself for the illusion of it. When you integrate this Lilith correctly, you still keep your charm, you still keep your grace, your ability to connect, your emotional intelligence, but now it's grounded in self-respect. You understand your worth, you understand your boundaries, you understand the power in your authenticity, and you become magnetic, not because you are likable and palatable, but because you're finally fiercely you, and that is so magnetic. I love you guys so, so much. Please, if you want to go deeper, book a chart reading with me. We can go into all the aspects, houses, and everything else. And don't forget to skip to the end of this video to learn more about the Lilith placement and how to integrate this and reclaim it in your life. And I will see you in the next video. Moving on to my Lilith and Scorpio people. Lilith is going to be exalted in Scorpio, so make sure that you take notes on this too. She doesn't just live here. She rules this place in the chart. Scorpio is the sign of secrets, transformation, death, rebirth, seduction, and Lilith knows those cycles intimately. With this placement, you carry a power that others can feel when you enter the room, even though you don't understand why. There is a mystery to you, a pull that people can't explain. You may have learned early on that people either feared you or they were obsessed with you. They wanted to possess you or figure you out, own your energy, but you don't belong to anyone. That is the gift, and it is the shadow. This placement really gives you the ability to see beyond the surface. You can feel what others are hiding and see it almost like X-ray vision. Maybe you can't fully explain it, but you sense it. And you guys can also use your eyes like spells. You have something very endearing about your eye contact, the way you look at people, the way you stare, the way you wink. You guys don't seduce in a loud way. It's more silent. It's more soft, very intense and piercing, but it is quiet. And because of this, people will project onto you constantly. They want you, they're intimidated by you, they fantasize about you even when you haven't said anything. You guys could attract stalkers, obsessive lovers, people who don't know how to handle the depth that you embody, because that magnetism first draws them in and they want you, but it might be for a superficial fashion when you want something deep, honest, true, and intimate. Or you could become that person, because when this placement isn't healed, Lilith and Scorpio can be a manipulator. You might use sex as a currency, use silence as control, using that magnetism and that power to get people to do what you want, to get their resources, their money, withhold love to gain power, or give love only to later weaponize it. There can be this jealousy, this possessiveness, this hunger to dominate people, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. When this placement is healed, Lilith in Scorpio becomes liberation. She becomes the one who helps others face their shadow, to hold space for grief, for rage, transformation. You teach people that nothing is too taboo to talk about. Nothing needs to stay hidden in shame. You really have this gift for transmutation, for turning that pain into power, not just for yourself, but for others. For channeling that sexual energy, not to control people, but to heal through sex. I can think of tantric work for you guys. And Lilith really feels at home here because Scorpio doesn't just flinch. Scorpio can experience the depth, they can go deep, they can go into the scary stuff of life where most people don't want to tread. You are here to be honest, to burn down illusions, not to be light and lovely. You are here to teach others to stand in their truth no matter how dark it gets. This placement is not easy, but when you work with it, you don't just survive, you alchemize. I would love to read your chart if you have this placement and dive into the houses, the aspects, because all of that matters a lot with how it shows up in your life. Please book a reading with me if you feel called to. Also leave a comment of what it's like with this placement. And don't forget to skip to the very end of this video to learn a little bit more about using Lilith in your life and reclaiming that power. I love you so much. I'll see you in the next one. All right, we are moving on to Lilith in Sagittarius. This is a wildfire preacher archetype, the one with a message, a mission, and sometimes a mouth that moves faster than your heart. This Lilith placement craves freedom more than anything. Freedom to believe, to move, to speak, to roam, to rebel. And usually that freedom was denied early on. Please let me know in the comments if you can relate to this. Maybe you were raised in a strict household. You were told you can't go out with your friends. You were told you can't go on that hike. You can't go on that lake trip. You didn't have access to travel. You didn't have access to other cultures. Or you grew up in a very religious environment that went against your own values or didn't give you room to explore others. You could have been with parents who told you how to think, how to be, or just people in your life who told you how you needed to show up. So you ran emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You probably escaped into philosophy, big ideas. You traveled at any opportunity you could get. You refused to be caged. And in that refusal, you became powerful, but also with that, you became unpredictable. Lilith and Sagittarius can almost feel like you are possessed by your beliefs. There is an intensity here, a knowing that you are so right and a desire to convert others to your belief system. You could become the preacher and the rebel at the same breath, challenging systems, breaking rules, pushing people's buttons because you like the thrill of rebellion. And when unhealed, this can turn into spiritual superiority, feeling like your beliefs, your dogma is right, even if you're not in the same dogma that you grew up with, but you went out on your own way, you found your own truth, and now you're like, okay, this is the truth. This is what we all need to believe. You could look down on others, you could judge people for living small, for not living like you live, speaking truths to people, and you know it's gonna hurt them, and then claiming, oh, I'm just being honest. But here is the thing, your words have power and they shape people's belief system. When you use your words carelessly, they can deeply wound others. So being careful and understanding that truth is subjective, and just because you have a truth doesn't mean that it's everyone's truth. Who is the audience that you are giving this information to? I'm not saying that your truth isn't true to you, I'm saying that that might not work for everyone to live in how you believe, how you see the world. And that is okay, but you can use your power to help liberate others and show them that they can go after their own truth. They don't have to live in the same dogma they were before. The way that this can play out in love too is like a fear of being tied down, of losing your freedom, staying in half commitments, or breaking hearts as you chase the next thrill. But the truth is, freedom doesn't come from avoiding roots. It means choosing where you're going to grow those roots. You don't have to grow them where people tell you to, but you can find your own place to settle down and to have your home environment, your sanctuary, your safe place. That doesn't mean you always have to stay there. You can venture out of it. This won't restrict you. This will give you freedom because you always have a place that you can come back to no matter how the world gets. And that is freedom. And no matter what, you have a place to come back to. When healed, you become a teacher of liberation. You help people question everything. You spark revolutions in their mind. You make space for people to have wild thoughts, big dreams. You are not here to follow the map. You are here to draw it. But this time, you draw it not to escape, but to lead with intention, with responsibility, with the wisdom that comes when fire meets truth. Guys, please let me know your experience with this placement, and if you want to go deeper, book a reading with me. I'll have it linked below. And of course, skip to the end of this video. I'm going to give you some more information about this placement and how to embrace its power. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Lilith and Capricorn, this is the power you were not supposed to have, and the one you refuse to live without. This placement can carry the wound of control, of structure, of never wanting to feel beneath anyone. Because maybe once you did feel that. Maybe you were raised in a strict authoritarian home, told to grow up fast, to get all A's, to try out for the sports teams, taught that emotions were a weakness and you had to succeed. Maybe you were about to have a mental breakdown, you were so stressed and overwhelmed and they told you to hold it in. So you built up walls, you built up strategies, you built the version of yourself that knows how to get ahead in life, no matter the cost, no matter how it cost you in love, in friendships, in connection, and it worked. Until it didn't. And please let me know if you got to a point where this strategy didn't work for you anymore in the comments. I would love to understand your story and your experience with this placement. Lilith and Capricorn can have a dark edge. The need to dominate, the belief that you need to outwork, outsmart, overperform everyone around you just to be safe. And this can lead you to become cold, calculating, and you might use relationships as a stepping stone. You might befriend power just to borrow the shine that that power can give you, or even sleep your way up to climb the ladder of success and get reputation, to get power through your sex, through your intimacy. Lilith in Capricorn is hungry for respect, for status, for control. But beneath it all, you guys, there is this fear of feeling small, a fear of being seen as weak, emotional, vulnerable, hate authority figures, want to rebel against them, but secretly crave that authority. You may resist being told what to do, but then building your life around chasing approval from those people who are in charge. And when this isn't integrated, it can become obsession. But when it is, it can become such power, such a strength. Obsession can happen with being untouchable, having so many awards, so many likes, so many followers, so much money that no one can say anything. But here is the lesson. You don't have to sacrifice your soul for success. You do not have to manipulate to win. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Lilith in Capricorn is here to show you how to lead with integrity, to build not just for ego, but use those building powers for a purpose. Redefine what power means. When you stop chasing validation, that is when you become unshakable. And when you heal this Lilith, you don't just rise in the world with how other people see you. You rise in your own self, because authority doesn't come from control. It is about self-mastery. And that is the legacy you're here to create. You are here to master yourself, to understand that you respect yourself, you are worthy, and you don't need other people to tell you that. And that is when, the funny paradox is, that is when you start to feel that respect pouring in from other people too. Guys, if you have this placement, let me know your experience, and if you want to go deeper into it, book a reading with me and we can talk about the houses, the aspects, how it shows up in your life, and more information on how to reclaim it. And you can skip to the end of this video. I'm going to have some journal prompts and other stuff to work with this energy. As always, I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello, my Lilith and Aquarius people. This is the outsider, the rebel, the one who can never quite fit in, so they stopped trying to. This placement can carry the wound of belonging. Maybe you were the weird one out, the weird one in the family, in the friend group, at school. Too smart, too strange, too ahead of your time. You liked the things that other people didn't. You were really into video games before anyone else was. You were too smart. You were talking about all of these ideas and people were just like, huh? They just couldn't relate to you. So you turned that rejection into armor so you could become untouchable. You wore your difference like a crown, even when it hurt. Lilith and Aquarius can so deeply fear conforming. But underneath that rebellion is this deep desire to feel understood. There is a constant push and pull here with I don't need anyone versus why doesn't anyone see me? You guys could go out of your way, do the opposite of what is expected of you. Wearing your eccentricism as a mask, shocking people, saying outrageous things. Or maybe you question everything, the rules, the systems, the expectations placed upon you. Doing that just so people know that you are okay with standing out, you are untouchable, but deep down you want someone to understand you, to dig a little deeper. And instead of being celebrated for trying to change that tradition, you were outcasted. There can kind of be a God complex that comes with this placement, a feeling of being above everybody else, smarter than the group, better than the herd. But this isolation can turn you kind of cold. Too much detachment leaves you floating above life rather than living it. In love, Lilith and Aquarius can show up through avoidance. You get close to someone, you like them, but then you pull away before you can say that you love them. You attract chaos or unpredictability in partners. People who just feel a little bit out of reach, may be emotionally unavailable, or who you look up to. Even sexually, there is this desire to explore, to try the taboo, the avant-garde, the strange, the little strange kinks. You guys want to explore in the bedroom. You want to do something unpredictable that shakes up the norms, not just for the pursuit of pleasure, but to feel like you have freedom even in your sexuality. But Lilith and Aquarius isn't here to be weird just for the sake of being weird. She is here to wake people up. You carry this vision, guys, that breaks the rules and builds futures. But first, you must break the story that says being different means being alone. You are not here to play devil's advocate. You are here to lead the conversation through truth, past the superficial, into the authenticity, to speak and share your truths and your visions, not for the sake of being weird, but because they truly are what you believe, honest to your core, what you want and what you crave to see in this life. When healed, this Chiron becomes liberation through connection with others. You help people break free of their conditioning by showing them what is possible. You are showing them the vision of the future, the lightning that disrupts, the voice that shows them there is more. You guys have a heart that is disguised as intellect. And when you let people in, not just to your thoughts, your visions, your ideas, but also to your own truth, you don't just change minds, you change their lives because you change what they see as possible. You help elevate them and let them know that it's okay to not have a normal vision, to want something more. I love you guys so much. Please let me know your experience with this placement. And if you want to go deeper, I would love to read your chart. You can book a reading with me, linked in the description, and skip to the end of the video to learn more about how to work with this energy. Next, we are moving on to Lilith in Pisces. Lilith in Pisces is the dream you can't quite wake up from, the illusion you created to survive a reality that never felt safe. This placement can carry the wound of disconnection. Disconnection from the self, the truth, from even the ground you put your bare feet on. You might have been the child to retreat into fantasy when things were hard, when you felt like you couldn't survive this world, you needed some form of escape. You could have read fantasy books, watched a lot of movies, and you are someone who learned how to read other people's emotions before you learned how to read your own, who even shape-shifted their energy to fit into what the other person wanted, to feel love. And you could have forgotten who you are underneath all of it. With this Lilith, lying wasn't always malicious. Sometimes that lying becomes unconscious, and you can get stuck in this cycle. You might have told stories to people when you were younger of, yeah, my mom makes this much money, yeah, my dad does this, and family is so happy and we're doing so well, trying to create this fantasy in your mind and tell it to other people so it felt more real. Trying to tell yourself, oh yeah, we're gonna go traveling. This could have been the placement to lie and say that their life was better than it really was, to tell people, yeah, we're going to Disney World next week. Or when you knew that you were gonna get home and your family was going to be working super hard and barely there for you, or you knew that your mom was gonna be out who knows where and you weren't doing anything for spring break, you were lying and telling people, I'm going to Disneyland with my family. And when the time came to it, the truth hurt too much to hold. There is this allure with you guys, a mystique with this Lilith. You are the dreamer, the muse, the healer, the fantasy, and people will fall for it, sometimes without seeing who you really are. Or worse, you're not letting them see you. You became what people needed. If they needed the optimist, if they needed the artist, if they needed someone to look up to. You can dissolve into roles and lose yourself in other people's expectations. This placement is deeply psychic. You feel things before they happen. You can probably predict things in your dreams. You can channel, create, dissolve. But if unhealed, you may escape into substances, sex, fantasy, spiritual bypassing, even meditation, overactivating your higher chakras, falling for unavailable people, toxic partners. There is a teeter-totter between playing the victim versus losing yourself by trying to rescue other people. But you are not here to stay lost, my loves. This Lilith placement is here to merge with the divine without abandoning the self. Not to spiritual bypass, but to take yourself with you. You are meant to see through the illusions in life, see through the fantasy, see it for what it really is, not losing yourself in the fantasy, not letting other people lie to you, not letting other people take advantage of you. Pain is your portal, and you can use your empathy as power. The dreams that you get, the visions you have, are not distractions. They are blueprints for healing. They are things you are meant to chase after in the material world. But you have to come back to your body to actualize them. Come back to your truth, your voice. When integrated, this Lilith becomes a sacred medicine. You help other people connect to spirit as you connect to it yourself. Not by floating above life, but by walking on the earth plane with grace, with depth, with understanding that there is more than the illusion, what's beneath the surface. Being the healer, the mystic, the mirror. Stick with me about this metaphor. You're like the ocean that holds it all, but you never forget. Even the ocean has a shore to come back to. You have a place to ground. You have earth to be on. You can be in the waves, you can be in the flow of life, but you know how to anchor. You guys deserve to be seen, not for your dream life, not for what you envision life to be like, not for what you envision yourself to come across as, but to be seen for who you are. Your soul deserves to be seen. Please let me know your experience with this placement. I would love to hear more about it. And if you want to book a chart reading with me, go ahead and we can dive into the aspects, the houses, and unlock everything there is to know about this placement and other parts of your chart. Now that we have gone through every single sign, this is the portion of the video where I want to talk more about integrating your Lilith. If you've gotten here so far and you haven't left a comment yet, please let me know what your Lilith placement is, what your experience is. So now you know her myth, her astrology, her sign, but the real magic happens when you learn how to integrate her. Having that awareness is the first step to healing, but the next step is embodiment, because Lilith's power comes through liberation. How do we do that? We are going to start by noticing our shame. If you have a journal with you, I really recommend getting that out or just asking yourself these as we go along. First thing I want you to write down or ask yourself, where am I dimming my truth? Second thing, where am I performing in life instead of expressing? Number 3, where am I trying to be acceptable instead of authentic? Lilith will show up most in the moments you feel triggered. And those moments, they are invitations, not to react, but to respond differently than you did in the past. And you know, for example, with my Lilith and Cancer being so close to my Venus, Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is heavily connected to the mom in astrology. This is advanced stuff, so you don't need to understand all of this. A lot of things I have gone through in childhood is deeply connected to my mother figure, right? And I love my mom, shout out to her, she is amazing, and I do have a complex childhood, but there are some patterns that I have gathered, and when I am most triggered, things from the mother figure, lessons, patterns, subconscious habits can come out through my Lilith placement. And earlier today, something like that came to my awareness. Instead of reacting intensely, letting this consume me, letting this rage or anger or fear or something consume my whole body, I was able to understand what it was trying to show me. Understanding and seeing the part of me that was feeling shameful, where I was trying to perform, where I was trying to hide and stay strong instead of crying and letting it out. And I allowed myself to do what I needed to for my inner child. It is okay, and I don't need to be shamed for it. I'm allowed to have it this way. I'm allowed to live in my truth. Lilith is about reclaiming what you were told to reject. So here are a few powerful ways to work with her energy. The first way to work with her energy is very simple, and this is journaling. If you have a lot of Gemini or Mercury or Virgo placements in your chart, I would recommend doing this, even a lot of air signs, because journaling just works really well for you guys, especially if you have an air moon sign. And if you haven't seen that video already, check out my moon sign video where I go into depth about each sign. You're going to journal to find your pattern, okay? Ask yourself, when did I first feel this wound? Number 2, what did I do to survive it? Number 3, who benefits from me staying small, silent, or nice? 4, What would it look like if I stopped apologizing? You are going to name the story and own the shadow in these questions. Witness the ways that you have contorted yourself and come back to who you are. Moving on to the second way to work with her. So this is a very important part of the healing process, and that is honoring your rage. Lilith is raw. She's not always pretty or put together. If you have been disconnected from your anger, now is the time to reconnect. You can scream into a pillow. You can dance it out. You can scream from a rooftop. You can write the letter that you never sent. You don't even have to send it, but just get it out on paper. You don't have to destroy anyone with your anger. There are ways to let it out and connect to this rage and know that it's not gonna fully consume you and take over your life. You are allowed to connect to it. It is your right to feel it, to experience it, even if it's just playing some angry music and dancing around. Anger, when channeled, becomes clarity. Sometimes we have to move through the anger to understand what the message is. A third way to work with this energy is through reclaiming those parts of yourself that have been shamed, that you've been trying to hide. I like this little ritual. You're gonna start by lighting a candle and then speaking your truth out loud. What truths were meant to come through based off of the sign you have Lilith in? Write down the parts of yourself you were told to hide during childhood, during growing up, at work, around friends. Write them all out on a paper and then burn it. This is representing you releasing that need to hide it. You allowing yourself to reclaim those parts of yourself. Number 4 is reclaiming your relationship to power and desire, especially if you have Lilith in like Taurus or Scorpio or a sign that's more focused around body, pleasure, relationships, anything like that. This is going to be very powerful for you. Remembering your magnetism is not a curse. You are here to own your desires without shame, without apology. Some examples of things you can do are dressing for yourself without apology, flirting and allowing yourself to express that feminine nature within you, saying what you want and meaning it, not hiding yourself when you go into a room, allowing yourself to be seen. When you allow yourself to have those desires, to be magnetic, to be seen, you start magnetizing the people who can meet you at that depth, who appreciate you for who you are, not the masks that you have been wearing. Pick all 3 of these or pick one that really stands out to you, and I recommend you do it by the end of today. That is going to be your challenge, so you can start integrating and making peace with this energy of Lilith. Here's what I want you to know before you click off this video. You've looked Lilith right in the eye, and maybe for the first time you saw a part of yourself that was hiding. Not the version of you that the world approved of, but the one that you were bearing. The wild one, the emotional one, the one who wants more. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not dangerous because of your fire, your sex, your rage, your softness, your silence, your screams. You are honest, and you're just built on a world of pretending. Lilith reminds us that there is no true empowerment without shadow, that you can't heal while you still hide. There will be moments where you forget this again, where you try and be quiet, agreeable. Reminders to ask yourself, is this the real me or am I performing? Am I dimming my light or daring to live in it? If this video made you feel seen, if it cracked something open, please let me know. And if you feel called to, I would love to read your chart. Going deeper into this placement, I also can talk about astrocartography, your life purpose, your next moves in career, your love life, and all of those nice things. Just book a reading with me, linked in the description. If you want to keep growing and you want more content like this, like and subscribe to this channel. We are just getting started. I love you so much. I'll see you in the next one.